Pick the wrong paint and you could ruin your project before you even open the can. Today, we're breaking down the real difference between oil-based and water-based paints. We're going to tackle myths, mistakes, and questions the store won't tell you. First of all, as I look at Reddit and Facebook posts, this question keeps popping up. Is oil-based paint better? Now, that's a pretty broad statement, and the answer is, it depends. Oil is going to give a smoother, harder finish, but advanced acrylics like Sherwin-Williams Emerald Urethane or Gallery Series is nearly as hard, but with more flexibility and less yellowing. Another question I keep seeing is, does oil paint last longer? The answer is sometimes. Oil holds up well on rigid, low-touch surfaces indoors, especially with good prep and low moisture. But water-based paints will often outperform on flexibility and high-traffic areas. Another question is why water-based paints don't yellow like their oil-based counterparts. And here's the answer. Oil-based paints yellow because the oils in the resins oxidize over time, especially in low light and enclosed spaces. Oxidation changes the chemical structure, causing that yellow tint. Water-based paints, like acrylics, they simply don't rely on oils. Their resins are acrylic polymers that cure by evaporation and not oxidation. Since there are no oils to break down, they stay clear and white longer, especially indoors. Does water-based paint stick to oil-based paint? The quick answer is you should never count on it. Always make sure you give it a really good sanding and follow up with a quality bonding primer. The next question that keeps coming up is oil-based paint waterproof? The real answer is no house paint is really waterproof. Oil does resist moisture better, but it is not as flexible. As always, prep work is key. Our next question, is oil paint more durable? The answer is yes, for abrasion and impact, but water-based urethanes now rival oil in many situations. I want you to think of picking paint like choosing shoes. Oil paints are more like a dress shoe. They're sleek, stiff, and formal. Water-based, on the other hand, is like a running shoe, flexible, forgiving, and built for movement. So if you're wondering which product to use, let's try to break it down a little together. If you want rock hard trim or cabinets, oil base is going to flow smoother and dry harder. Now, with this being said, I know that the idea of having a rock hard finish on your trim or on your cabinets sounds like a really good idea. However, let me share with you why I actually prefer water-based products. And very simply, I like them for those applications because they are a little bit softer. If you think about it, the harder something is, the more brittle it can become. If you bump in or hit something, you want a product that's going to bounce instead of crack. If you want fast dry and low odor, water-based is going to give you quicker recoats and less fumes. If you need ultimate stain blocking, nothing beats a good oil-based primer. This is going to prevent bleed through. If you want easy spraying and brushing, water-based is going to be easier to both clean up and control. Let me real quick give you a recommendation as far as which brush you should be using and why. For oil-based products, a natural bristle brush is going to flex with the heavier paint and will lay it down smoother. Water-based products causes natural bristles to swell. So for that reason, synthetic brushes like nylon or polyester will give you better control and cleaner lines. I've linked a few of my favorite brushes in the description below. If you use those links, it supports the channel and doesn't cost you anything. Let's say I have a door I need to paint and I have absolutely no idea what product was put on there. What do? The answer is actually surprisingly simple. All you do is take a rag or even a cotton ball and soak it a little bit in some denatured alcohol. Then rub firmly on an inconspicuous spot for about 30 seconds. If the paint comes off, it's water-based. If nothing happens, that means it's oil. Now that's a really important tip, and I can tell you that couple of minutes could literally save you hundreds of dollars. I want to share with you a story of something that happened to me many years ago when I first started painting. I didn't fully understand or really appreciate how these things react. I painted an interior door with a water-based enamel, and it really looked great, but I didn't check to see if what was underneath it was oil or latex. A few months later, I got a call back and my paint peeled off like a sticker. I had to go back, strip, prime, and then repaint everything all over again. That one door at that time ended up costing me well over $500, especially because I was young and just starting out. That was a really big hit for me, but it taught me some very valuable lessons, and I want to share those with you here today. The first one is very simple. Always know what's underneath. And the second one is to prime before you switch products. These two things might seem simple, but I can assure you, if you don't respect the science, you're going to create a lot of headaches. So on those same Reddit threads and Facebook chat rooms, I see a lot of bad advice that's been given with regards to these types of products. So I want to clear some of that up. One of the questions I keep hearing is, do I need to use a primer if I'm using oil paint? The answer is yes, especially on bare wood, metal, or a glossy surface. Primer is going to be that bond coat. Should I use an oil primer with an oil paint, or can I just use a latex one? The answer is go with the oil primer, and here's why. An oil primer is going to bond best with an oil top coat. Remember, oil likes oil. Latex primers simply don't create the grip that an oil paint needs. Another question is, can I paint oil over latex? The answer is yes, you can, but you still need to sand, clean, and make sure you use a bonding primer. Remember, we need both the mechanical grip as well as the chemical adhesion. So why does a water-based paint stick to an oil-based primer, but not to an oil-based paint? The reason for that is oil primers are designed to be porous in order to accept a top coat. Dried oil paint, on the other hand, it forms a slick, sealed film that water-based paints simply cannot bond to without sanding and primer. Remember, oil paints love oil primers, just like water-based paints need a bonding primer. If you want to check out a deep dive on some top coats, check out this video. This is where I compare different Sherwin-Williams trim paints. In it, I break down and share with you how premium water-based products perform. Also, if you're painting your walls, check out this video. In it, I break down the science behind Sherwin-Williams Emerald. So what's the biggest painting mistake that you've seen or made? Drop a comment below, and let's all have a good laugh. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.